What's the next topic?
Oh, I want to get into some Twitch drama. I'm ready.
Ooh.
Okay.
Let's do it.
We've been pretty civil here. I want to get into just a little bit of Twitch drama.
Ooh.
Time for my hot take.
What
Yeah.
level of Twitch drama are we talking about? Are we talking about big
Yes.
boys or little boys or?
We're talking
Yes.
about Sweet Anita.
I don't even know who
Yes.
that is.
Yeah, I don't know the story.
She's the streamer with Tourette's.
I feel so bad for her.
Oh.
Honestly, it's fucking disgusting what people are like saying about her, trying to tear her down. She has Tourette's. That's literally like you can't fucking control that. It's so disgusting. People being like, oh no, like she should just find a way to like handle it. It's like so obvious, in my opinion.
Does it matter
You're
when
gonna
I say
hate
what's
me.
going on before we? Because I'm ready. But
Okay, we'll just okay. If you don't know who Sweet Anita is, she's a Twitch streamer with Tourette's. She's very open about that and her experiences. She's actually like a very like positive streamer. Like if you're having a terrible depressive day, she's a really good like channel to go in and just chill out. I recommend her. Regardless, part of Tourette's means she says stuff that is not appropriate, which sometimes makes for really cool or really funny, I should say, live stream fails moments. You can see her on there quite a bit. On, I believe, 2 occasions that I'm aware of, she said things that probably would have gotten me and a lot of other streamers banned. Recently...
Say it. I want to know.
the N-word.
Yeah, recently she said
Oh,
the
is that
N-word.
what it
Yeah,
was?
that's why I'm not going to say that. I know better.
Yeah, don't say it. I take it back.
And then she said something about possibly killing a lot of Jewish persons.
Yeah, those are Jews.
Yeah.
She said that.
And she reacted really fast to both of them. But those are things that if I had said them, I'd have been banned, right? Which is why I know not to say them. So, first question I posed is, do you think she should be banned for saying these things?
No.
As any other streamer would be.
No.
No,
Yeah,
if
no.
she has a legitimate reason, right? Like, it's not like
No.
she's espousing this like for
Yeah.
racist reasons.
That's like the ultimate in context, right? Like she has a disability.
Well,
Exactly.
so I'll
So-
be the only one to go against the grain. If like, I certainly feel for her because I think Twitch chat, you guys are awful. Whether it's Mastiat's chat or Mindwaves or my own chat, I think you guys are the worst. And
I love
My
that.
chat is beautiful.
Yeah.
You take that back.
I love
Yeah.
you, chat.
Well, actually, by the way, a lot of my stream was asking if everyone is a broadcaster. Their names are right below. You can find all of them. But I certainly think that, when provoked, it's more likely that these things are in her mind and are going to be said, although I'm not hyper educated on Tourette's. But I do think that, like, fuck this. Babe, do you want that? I don't want this dog anymore. Does anybody want this dog? I'm sorry.
Oh,
Just
dog.
What?
he's so
Gimme.
cute, too. He's only 2 years old. But he's such a good guard dog. I'm trying to take turns with Casey to grab the dog. But yeah, so I am sort of empathetic to the viewer, and I understand that, like, when you go to her stream, you're aware that she has Tourette's, but like, and this is more to Twitch than it is to her, is that Twitch's position is that it's contextual, right? If you say the N-word, you should be suspended. Well, I think they've sort of flip-flopped on a lot of broadcasters. I mean, I can name a few: Tifu, Ninja. There's a fighting game player named Maximilian. I think there have to be practices and standards held across the board, and I understand that she's disabled, and I think perhaps a time delay and a mute in what she says is a good way around it. I don't want to seem callous and say I don't feel for this young woman, but like, I think Twitch has to be fair and balanced in the execution of the rules, and I think she is getting special consideration now, and I'm not against that, but I just wonder how far it goes, and like, how much can she say before she's held to the same standard that I'm held to? I'm genuinely curious.
Well,
For sure. 100% agree.
Tourette. Well, I don't know. Tourette's like literally doesn't control what you're gonna say, right? Like you can't stop yourself from saying it, and it's not even doesn't have to be even a thought in your head, right? It could be something like completely that you're not even thinking about consciously at all, and it just like pops up because certain triggers. Yeah, maybe they can do a time delay and stuff, but I don't know. Maybe I'm being like too anecdotal here. I get way fucking behind on my Twitch chat. When there's like a million people on or whatever, I still try to take my time to like answer every single one. I can imagine like a time delay, like putting like her normal like schedule of things or her normal rhythm of things like completely off. And I don't know. I think in general, like in society, we usually try to like accommodate to people who do suffer from disabilities instead of asking them to do it the other way around, just as like a general principle. And it's not like the fact that she's not being malicious at all. She's not trying to be like
Sure.
rude or anything. It's just literally a byproduct of illness, of disability.
But while I agree, I just don't think that changes the impact. If people are sending me Twitch clips of her, saying, and again, I feel for this girl. I certainly understand how difficult the situation is. I just if this is a workplace, right? We have to have we agree that this is and this is not acceptable, and I don't want her stream shut down, right? But most of you don't know this about me, but I'm a broadcaster who just got off a 5-month subscription or 5-month suspension where Twitch took 500 of my subscribers. I literally got my channel vaporized for less. Okay. And I do think that Twitch should be understanding as they were with her. But I think again, I don't want to equate my situation because it's not the same, but I think we have to there has to be a line, and I think we have to pay attention to this, and she has to be held accountable in some sort of way, because otherwise I don't know. I just think it's a slippery slope, but I get that she's disabled and needs special conditions.
I think you make a comparison to a workplace, and I mean, I think that's can be a good analogy, because it's if I was had a particular type of workplace, and we had somebody with Tourette syndrome who said things like that, I wouldn't I wouldn't ask them to go home for the day, I would, or if I was their boss, I wouldn't fire them, and I wouldn't suspend them or anything, if I knew that they had Tourette's. I think that I feel like a way you could hold her to the same standard is after she says those things, because of her Tourette's, how does she react to it? You can understand that for this particular person, the initial instance isn't something that's in her control, but she can control how she reacts right afterwards. If she just does not give a fuck, lets it slide, says it again, or encourages it, that can be something that's bannable. Whereas if she immediately apologizes, takes a moment and takes it seriously. I don't know what she did in that particular situation, but I feel like that could be a way of still holding her to a standard, while also taking into account her disability.
Well,
in the workplace scenario, if she's sitting behind me and and that it's offensive to me, the word, I mean, at what point is it?
But she doesn't get fired. You make accommodations for her, right? You put her in a situation where she can succeed. And let's not beat around the bush here. Twitch really only cares about what appeals to advertisers, what is going to make advertisers pull away. And if there's a girl who, disability or not, is screaming the N-word on a stream, that's not very friendly to advertisers. In my opinion, I don't know, she has a disability. You can't ban the girl for a disability, right? But they don't look at it as in this is the way that we've banned one person. Therefore, in order to be fair to the streamers, we have to ban another person. It's solely comes down to their bottom line.
Scott, did you have anything to?
Yeah, I think there is. I recently had a pretty big falling out with some people because of my take on this. But I think there's 3 fundamental questions you sort of have to ask yourself in terms of the whole Sweet Anita situation. First off, do you think there's anything that a disabled person can do, which would be where you draw the line? And I think, I can make pretty easy arguments, and I think most people would agree that there are some things that we cannot accept on a platform like Twitch. And if we come to that conclusion, then the question is, so where do we draw the line? And personally, for me, I think a place where I would draw the line is calls to violence, saying kill the Jews, and even if it isn't within her control, and even if it isn't something that she wants, just putting the idea out there. We all know how Twitter accounts work, fucking alt-righters and stuff, being super vague about their calls to violence. The truth is that there's going to be a percentage of people who followed through with this. And if you did see the way that her chat reacted when she said that, there were some people in the chat who said, yeah, fuck the Jews, in her chat. Of course, they were banned, which they should be. But the truth of the matter is that, some just exposing people to stuff like that. And I'm not necessarily saying she should be banned for doing it once, but the question is, if you keep doing it, if you keep, let's say because it becomes a common tick, so every single day she just keeps saying, kill the Jews, kill the Jews, kill the Jews, multiple times a day. Yeah,
we
get your point, Scuffed.
I don't know why a line needs to be drawn with. I don't know why a line needs to be drawn with her. If she genuinely has the situation, which by all accounts she does, then this is this is something that somebody like that would run into in any job. And I mean, that argument effectively renders somebody like that unemployable. I mean, I think that Twitch is a unique place that allows a person with severely limiting, some severely limiting situations to have a career. And I don't feel like, I mean, especially considering she banned these people right off the bat. Like, what else can you ask for somebody who didn't want this condition? I mean, ultimately, I'll say this: I will go to bat to the death for a company's right to run its platform 100% the way that it wants to, in accordance with the law. But if they choose to permit her to stream, I think that is a very fair and reasonable decision that respects a condition she had that I'm sure she would prefer not to have, and I don't see the reason for punishing somebody.
So do you not?
Because I don't think anybody's gonna. I don't think anybody I don't know who is coming to these ideas because of her tics, especially when she's removing them from the community for responding.
Yeah, she's been taking clear action against it, right?
Yeah.
She's banning people afterwards who keep saying like, "Oh no, yeah, fuck the Jews" or whatever. And if like I haven't like seen her channel like specifically, but if her channel is generally like a positive place and where she talks about like her illness and stuff, and maybe like inspires other people to hey, maybe I can be like not just like a successful streamer, but live like an okay life even with my illness. I think it's doing a lot of like danger to other people by taking away her platform in that sense. Like
also to directly like address your comments, what you said too, Scuff Lefty, like you were saying that this is like a call to action, right? Which I don't necessarily think it is, because she's just saying it as a tick, right? I mean, you just said kill the Jews like 4 times in a row. Does that mean that was that?
Yeah, we don't have to keep saying what she said, guys. Like we get it.
Yeah.
Wait, what did she say? We don't need to keep giving that example.
Well, what I'm saying is like if that is like if a tick is like a call to action, then using that phrase in any sort of instance, if you're going to say that using it during a tick is a call to action, then using it in any instance would also be considered a call to action and would be like a bannable offense.
Yeah, so I'm curious.
I want to point out that she is trying to stop, and she's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
for
not,
sure.
Yeah, she's on the right side of this, and I don't want any
sure.
consequence. But when we don't, like the fact that I say that, like, okay, so let's are there resources we can divert to helping her have a stream delay in which, I mean, that really hinders her ability to stream.
For one thing, apparently she has said, somebody in my chat says this, so this is secondhand, but she has a clip where she says that putting in a time delay would make her particular tick worse. So
yeah, but I think what she said is that if she has to focus on muting her stream with a delay, it would make it worse. But I don't think anybody's proposing that. What I personally am proposing is that just take the common normal Twitch delay, which is like I think 5 seconds or something like that. Have a mute button for mods that in some way are able to sort of see the stream in advance with like a lesser delay or something. And if these functions aren't easily available for her in terms of like accessibility, then Twitch should get on it and make sure that those accessibility options are there, both for her sake and for the community's sake. I mean, I think Twitch has a large part in this, and they are responsible for like what people say on their platform. And I don't think that we should allow when there are easy technological solutions. I don't think we should just throw our hands in the air and say, well, we can't do anything because she is disabled. I mean,
Right.
One of the great things about Twitch is that they're really not responsible for what is said on the platform, and I mean, I hope it remains that way, because if they were, we'd all be in for some difficult times.
I mean, I think that if there was like enough of a demand for it, and maybe we could find like other situations in which like a mute button like that would be considered valuable. Like it's like, especially like if a streamer's worried about getting doxxed, maybe a mod can like mute like things like as it happens. Like there's other situations in which that could be really useful. As Scott was talking, I was like, I don't know. Like sometimes I feel like this idea of technological solutions, like they aren't always easily implemented, like the way that it feels like when you're proposing them. So, like, but I mean, I do think that like having like rhetoric like what was said that I don't want to say like that can be like really like damaging to communities. It sounds like Sweet Anita did like does the absolute like, best possible thing she could do like in that situation.
Yeah.
And so, like props to her.
I'm not necessarily criticizing Sweet Anita personally. I think she handled it as best as she could, and obviously she can't control it. So, I mean, I would never put the blame on her. I think that I personally think that Twitch has a responsibility there in terms of offering accessibility options, and I think that Wait, somebody?
I
Anybody
mean,
else hear
you're
that?
good to go though. I think
No.
it's Mastiat.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Cool.
Um.
But so
Hey, wow.
I guess just
Thanks
to
for the host. Welcome,
finish
everyone.
finish the thought, I think what I am proposing is something that is already being done by multiple streamers. Very famously, it's been done by like the bounty hunter person guy on Twitch, where he would have ways to cut speed in terms of like if something happened on because of his job, if something happened on the street that wouldn't be acceptable. I mean, he could cut the video feed, cut the audio feed, whatever was necessary, and he would have mods doing that, so he wouldn't have to worry about that. I just don't see why we can't set up a similar situation for Sweet Anita, and I think it must be extremely fucking stressful for her to have to constantly think about if she's going to say things that are going to affect other people. I think just taking the pressure off her by offering like a solution like that, I mean, I just don't see the downside.
I think it's like, how does this apply to smaller streamers though? Because if there's a smaller streamer with Tourette's who might get banned for saying some of these similar things, but they might not have the resources to like, I mean, if you're a small streamer who has like 3 viewers, right? Like you might not have a mod that can be there at all times to like mute the stuff, right? So it seems like it might be better for us just to have a general understanding that like, hey, some things come with Tourette's, you know, there might be some people that abuse the system and just be like, I have Tourette's.
Yeah, and
But-
to say nothing of the value of like being able to see somebody with Tourette's, like actually, like I've never seen somebody who's had Tourette's before, you know, and I think that's like incredibly educationally valuable to see what it's really like for somebody to deal with it, you know, versus I guess just kind of seeing a bunch of mutes that apparently would stress would be stressful to do in the first place.
So I guess those are two arguments that people make. So in terms of like the smaller streamers, I think with most things on Twitch, I mean, it would be a question of scale. Already now, partners aren't treated the same as affiliates, and affiliates aren't treated the same as like completely new streamers. So I think just looking at it from like a utility perspective, I mean, if it's a 2-viewer streamer, I mean, the damage isn't really that big. In terms of having the advocacy for the Tourette's, I think Anita does a good job of that. And if she has to, like, for 99.999% of her content, she's doing God's work. Like, she's promoting Tourette's and, like, getting people to talk about it. If we mute the 0.1%, I mean, I think it's only happened one time right now. I mean, yeah, I just don't see, like, yeah.
You mentioned damage. Like, what kind of damage is being done by like somebody hearing a bad word that like somebody with Tourette's that has no control over it?
So I think there's a difference between hearing a bad word and call or like saying something like a call to violence. So another example could be if she for example said that about another streamer. She said kill X streamer, and she would say that every single day, like multiple times a day, and it would be like a tick that would caused by her chat. Then that streamer might face repercussions. I mean, the streamer might
I don't
become.
know. I guess
Yeah,
this
but
gets into the free speech
that's-
argument, but I wonder like who is really who's called to action by this like legitimate example of Tourette's. I mean, are people, is there the kind of this idea that you're working with that there are folks out there who are just so thin in their mental constitution that if they hear somebody saying
Yes.
something hostile,
Yes.
that they're just
Absolutely.
I don't like
I
it.
mean, I mean,
don't
to the extent that those
I don't
folks
like
are
it.
out there, I just don't think it's fair to make policy based on these kind of black swan
Okay,
people
I
out
don't
there.
think that we're talking about policy. We're not saying that Twitch
No, I
has,
mean,
like,
this
a
is-
legal
this isn't-
responsibility. We're
This
just saying
should
like
well,
we have to
just to be
demand
clear,
that-
yeah, they have no legal responsibility.
yeah,
And of
yeah.
course, if we
I
imagine they'll do anything, they'd probably just pull the plug on somebody like this rather than give them an accommodation. But that being said, I mean, I think this does have some kind of policy implication because at the end of the day, the question is how do you treat people like this in the workplace, right? How you treat them in society. And if the answer is, well, if we can just kind of shut them up, that's the best way to do it.
No.
I don't know that that's fair to say.
I want to
Give
say
them the
something.
tools to
I don't think,
moderate.
no,
Give them
I don't
tools.
think it's fair to
And
say
their
right
community
there.
members
I
tools
don't.
to moderate. Like
I agree with what Scuff Lefty is saying. I think the fact that it's on the internet makes it a little bit harder, right? Because Tell me if this sounds unrealistic. I could totally see a like crazed fan one day or a crazed watcher hear her say that and then be like, "Oh, Sweet Anita is technically like trying to send me these symbols and like these messages."
Can you imagine
so
like what if somebody says that about you, Pixie?
Yeah,
I
no.
mean, what if somebody says that about, should you be muzzled because of the risk of some crazy fan doing something?
Pxie. Oh my God, we're not talking about like should we like muzzle Sweet Anita? We're talking
Well,
about,
we're talking about creating special tools, and presumably, if she doesn't want to use those tools, then she's out.
Her the
right?
tools to moderate and her mods tools to moderate like her chat
And-
like in a way that's like
Just to be clear, I mean, if she doesn't want to use these tools, then what?
oh no.
Obviously, she
We'll
would be
cross that
suspended.
bridge
I mean,
when we're
Yeah,
there.
yeah, that's the answer, right? I mean, basically suspending
but
somebody
let
for
me ask you-
exhibiting their disability, and I just don't think that's
So
reasonable.
let me
I don't think it's fair.
let me ask you, Bestie. If we aren't talking about Anita, but let's talk about like a different disabled condition. Let's talk about a schizophrenic, for example. Do you think the same rules would apply for a schizophrenic who would like stream every single day and talk about the big Jewish conspiracy? Do you think we should allow that on Twitch?
I think
Yeah,
that's
I don't think that's. I don't think
don't
that's.
have to
comparable.
give the specific.
I don't think that's
example.
comparable.
I'm asking you. Do you think there's a
Yeah,
limit
I
to
don't think
how
that's
much-
comparable. There's nothing that says like schizophrenics have to say like random offensive things like that. But I will say that if there is some disability issue, I would certainly be more inclined to side with the disability rather than the idea that we have to hide the disability.
But
Also,
So
you-
yeah, I mean, I'll say that without knowing more about the particular disability and the characteristics of it, I would be willing to say, yeah, I think
her
that
disability
people
is
who
her
have
charm.
disabilities should not be pushed out of the platform on the risk that some people will misunderstand and react, kind of wildly. Because I feel like that's something. I feel like everybody's at risk of that kind of situation. Like if I make a meme, I do always run the risk of somebody misunderstanding that and taking it literally. But I mean, at the end of the day, that's a balance everybody has to keep in mind. I just don't think that balance should be so tilted against somebody with a real
I
condition.
guess.
I think the
Yeah.
disconnect here is that we're both looking at I think everybody agrees that there needs to be some level of harm reduction here, but I think it's like who we're trying to like look at, like for who, right? It's like, are we harm reducing for the streamer, for Sweet Anita because she's suffering from this condition and we need to like be like recognize that and do something about that, or are we worried about like the viewers like possibly being harmed by seeing this? I don't know. So
Yeah, I
it
think
seems
you
like
have
that's
something?
I
I've
think
been
Go,
super
KCD. You haven't
quiet
talked in an
this-
hour. Go, KCD. Go.
Yeah, I
I've been
wanna-
super quiet this whole time, and I want to preface what I'm about to say with the fact that I do not have a solution, okay? I do not have a solution for the problem that is being presented, but I want to talk about an aspect that isn't being addressed because we're talking about call to action, and I think something that is more likely to happen is for someone to be upset. And I'm a snowflake. I often get upset by words, and I've had arguments with people about the power of words, and I will have arguments with people about the power of words time and time and time again. Words can be triggers for people who have PTSD, for people who have suicidal thoughts. Like there are a bunch of different things that can cause people to experience a surge of emotions that can spiral in ways that not a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot of people because I feel like mental health is something that's far more common than we're willing to acknowledge, but like people don't talk about it, and they assume that when you're on the internet you have to have some level of thick skin, but it's just not the reality. There are people who are not aware of what type of content she has. There are people who are new viewers who do not know that she has Tourette's, and they're going to click on her stream and she's going to say something, and it's going to like that. And that's all it takes is one wrong word, one wrong sentence, and then people are in a spiral of like anxiety, depression, emotional turmoil. And then you've got a matter of like, these people may not go back on the internet because they're triggered in this moment. I'm not saying never go back on the internet. I'm saying that like it's as simple as having like one or two sentences said to me and I have to go take a cold shower for like 15 minutes to calm myself down. And I know there are thousands, if not millions of other people on the internet who are the same way. And like,
Basically,
Well, I mean,
I don't want to interrupt you, but I totally understand where you're coming from, and I feel for you. But can we make the argument about people seeing disabilities in real life? Like some people get very uncomfortable when they see somebody with like Down syndrome or when they hear somebody else talk about depression and stuff like that, right? And it could
Well,
like, definitely affect their mental state.
Tourette's. When you say that though, it's like Down syndrome is what you can see Down syndrome. Okay, people when you talk about someone being uncomfortable about Down syndrome, it's because of what they're perceiving, right? When you talk about Tourette's, I'm not talking about people who understand what is going on in the stream. I'm talking about people who have no clue that she has Tourette's. People who are tuning in for the very first time and she has not said anything about Tourette's, and they hear these tics that just are said randomly, and I know how debilitating Tourette's can be. My mom is married to a man who has Tourette's, and it is so difficult for him to have social relationships because of his Tourette's. But I'm also telling you that like I don't have a solution. I'm just saying that like there has to be an understanding for people who are watching as well. Go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. If I understand correctly, I think she puts that she has Tourette's in her titles, and she makes it like very clear, which it seems to me that like, I don't know, I don't want to downplay what you're saying because I know personally as well, like the effects that words can have, but at some point there is some sort of like responsibility on the viewer if they're going out of their way to go into somebody's stream that has Tourette's, if they know that something this person with Tourette's says might like trigger something, right? I just, it feels weird to me to say that like this person with Tourette's that has no control over what they say holds some sort of responsibility for how somebody might react to something that she says, especially when she's very clear up front that like she has Tourette's. It just feels weird. I don't know.
I mean,
Okay, but
the exposure to
how many times have you had
ideas that
someone
are
click on your
frustrating
stream
are
and
just,
they not read your stream title? Because it happens to me all the time.
But like that's
Have
not.
people
I mean,
click on you?
that's the price of life in a
Okay,
free
it's not
society is
her
the
fault, but
possibility of
people on the
occasionally
internet have
being
to
offended
take
or
a certain amount of
disgusted or.
accountability if they're putting themselves online. You would agree to that, right?
Okay.
Like
Yeah, but
celebrities,
I mean,
politicians,
I
everybody
don't-
has to take a certain amount of
Yeah, that's what
responsibility.
I'm saying.
I'm not okay. I'm not agreeing with this solution, but I wonder if you would like it. Do you know how that sometimes when you click on a stream, it says, "Oh, this content is supposed to be like for mature viewers only."
Trigger
Press
warning,
OK.
large.
Yeah,
Like
that's a
this
really great idea.
Yeah, like this person has Tourette's syndrome. And
How is
might-
her disability
That could be-
mature content?
Yeah, that could be really.
No, not
Is
prefacing
I'm not
it
saying I
what
believe
she
in it.
says?
I was just asking something. I don't. I'm not
Is
saying
what
I
she says not
personally-
mature content?
No,
Is the
even-
No,
are the
she
actual words?
is. This is a condition that somebody has. This isn't like mature content. The fact that we may misunderstand it
I don't
does not
know.
make it mature content.
So I actually
I think it is mature.
And I just
content.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is any more than any other disability is mature
Okay,
content.
but
I mean,
I'm
these
not
are
saying
facts
you
of
have to
life.
preface it
These
with
are
mature
uncomfortable
content. I think
facts
you
of
preface
life.
it with a
And the
trigger
fact
warning.
that they
If you
exist
put
doesn't mean that
before
they
the
need to
stream
be
comes
hidden.
up,
I mean,
if you
these are
put
parts of
if
this
my
is
kid-
may trigger you.
You know?
Okay,
Look,
wait,
I'm
hold
gonna
on.
make a
My-
really dumb appeal real quick. If my kid watched Sweet Anita and then like came away watching her streams and said like kill the Jews or something like that, I'd be pretty concerned. I would want like some sort of like
Well,
filter
you
like
know,
that.
I mean, yeah, that's why we live in a golden age of web filters and parental controls. But to say that somebody like that should be basically responsible for censoring themselves when what they're exhibiting is a natural condition, I just don't think that's fair or reasonable. And again, I want to
Sure,
say
but-
I think Twitch should be free to do whatever it wants as a private company, but in the sense of just pure fundamental fairness, I don't think it's fair.
Well, also this idea of like another barrier to her stream, not like a maturity filter, but one that says like a trigger warning filter or something. This is kind of what I do is like internet stuff and adding an extra click to get to something. You have no idea
Really?
how much.
Are we going to put that on these political streams now? Are we going to put that
yeah.
on these socialist streams where, for example, I walk into somebody talking about the crimes of the USSR?
Real ads.
I don't see the argument for that anywhere on
Okay, let
Twitch.
me finish. I'm
What was he
agreeing with
saying?
you. I'm agreeing with you.
all right,
I'm saying,
okay.
I'm saying adding another click can detrimentally affect the.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were about to say it's not a
I
big
want a
deal.
warning.
apologize.
Wait, I want a warning screen, but
I apologize for
We
jumping
got
on
too
you.
many going on
I think
now.
before people can watch Bastier's stream, they should have to like click on something that says like this guy is a shill for corporations and
Hey, that may
you
be.
can't take
Again,
any of his political
I'll be
opinions
glad
serious.
to. I'll be glad
and
to
then you have
shill
to
for
acknowledge it.
corporations here every time. But I think that at the end of the day, that if you're going to put restrictions like that in place, I do think it is reasonable to start saying, all right, well, what about other stressors? What about people who have political takes that stress me out? Where people might, for example, it just goes on and on and on, and just to. In this situation with somebody who has a clear disability, it just seems so clear to be able to say, yeah, okay, that's your condition, and this is how it is expressed, and this is not hateful. This is not mature content. This is just
Sure.
a part of life. Unpleasant, perhaps, but a part of life nonetheless.
Basti, why do we have the TOS?
So that because Twitch is trying to create a platform by which it can attract the most viewers and make the most money.
Advertising.
Okay, so
Yeah, and
So-
if they make the decision to ban her for advertising or for profit maximization, I think that's legit. I mean, I think it's not really fair, but it's
So
legit. If they want to do that.
you think that she should have, however easy to perform, do you think she should have no accountability?
No,
So
not.
for
I don't think
example-
anybody should be like accountable for their disabilities.
No,
I
She
just
said
think
that she
it's-
banned people in chat and stuff,
something
though.
that
That's being
people,
accountable.
something that people have recommended, something as simple as just deleting the clips and the VODs of the like the really offensive stuff, just like every single other streamer. I mean,
Do
she
we know
doesn't
she's
even have
not
to do
doing that?
right now.
No, I think
No,
she
she's
is.
not.
No,
I
the
think
clip
she
is still up actually right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I think it's
Honestly, I don't think she's doing it for this reason. Maybe she isn't, but what a great freaking way to bring attention about Tourette's.
Awareness.
Like for anybody
Yeah.
who didn't know before.
Yeah.
Like
real.
honestly.
Can't be mad at
Mm.
that. Yep.
Yeah.
While we're sort of speaking highly of it, I just want to give a shout out to Sweet Anita, twitch.tv/sweet_Anita. We're using her for content without her permission. And I'm sorry if I've offended at all. I know what you're going through, is very difficult. Thank you for, letting us, use this, and hopefully we bring some awareness to Tourette's. I certainly feel bad
True.
speaking this way about her, but yeah, I don't know. I'm conflicted.
Casey, I hope that you don't think that we were like minimizing the effect that like this can have on
You
people either,
were.
because I'm maybe, yeah. I mean, I get can, but I'm saying that like I don't know. I want to just put it out there that like I recognize that like this can have those effects that you're mentioning on people. I have a hard time like putting the onus on somebody like that with Tourette's to like protect these other people. Is the
But I think the goal should be to help her, no? I mean, like to offer this thing. And look, Bastiat is right about this. If she doesn't use the tool, then I don't know. I mean, maybe I get.
But
Yeah,
I
in
don't
these,
want her
these
off the platform.
solutions,
I don't
that
want her
if it's-
suspended. I don't want her marginalized. I want her to. I enjoy her content. I really do like her stream. But that, I'm sort of conflicted as a viewer too. If I go in there and I enjoy the content, but then like I hear the N-word, sort of shouted at me, and I'm like, holy shit. I mean, obviously, I'm not gonna report her stream. I'm just gonna close it. But I'm very conflicted. I don't know. But
there's gotta be people that go to her stream like for bad reasons, right? Like specifically to kind of like talk and look at her.
People are trying to get her to say this. People are trying to get her to say
come
this.
to my streams
I do wanna
specifically
say
to
that
ask
I
me
don't-
to that's a part of
So-
streaming.
Oh,
isn't
yeah.
it?
You were saying
I
Casey
never-
real quick?
Yeah, I do want to say that I'm not by any means holding Anita accountable for the things that she said. I'm simply saying that words have a bigger impact than a lot of people realize. And I tried to say earlier, Bastiat, I don't necessarily think that mature rating on her stream is the way to go, but I do think that a warning before the stream could be beneficial to people who may get hurt or upset by the things that she says. And
But
I
it can
know
also-
that she doesn't have control of them. I know that it's a disability. I'm well aware. I have
Yeah.
had to deal with it in real life. And I know what it's like to have to remove someone from a situation that they want to be in. He wants to do this job and he can't do this job because of the things that come out of his mouth. And I know how that impacts him emotionally. Him and my mom are now getting a divorce because of it. And it's I mean, I don't really like the man because of a lot of other reasons, but it has nothing to do with the fact that he has Tourette's. It has to do with his moral beliefs. Something that is completely unrelated.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable to say maybe if you're the person in question, maybe if you want to address it in a certain way, that's fine. But I just don't think it's fair for others to impose different accommodations on her. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
to
some
the
of these
extent she
things-
wants to address it, I think that's
Fair
up
would
to her.
be-
I just
fair
don't
would
think
be-
it's fair for others
fair
to
would-
say you must be treated differently in
Fair
terms
would
of
be
how
shut
you-
her stream off. I'm not arguing for fair. Fair would be that you shut her stream down.
Wait,
can't
why would
shut
that be
her
fair?
stream down.
No, because then
But-
you're
but
not
it's-
accepting people's disabilities. That's
Yeah, I
opposite of
mean,
fair.
Twitch is the rules are context specific as it is. And I mean, I feel like you could totally argue that this is all terms of service compliant because it's context specific, I mean,
I don't think that. I don't think the context encompasses that. I certainly don't think it
It's
does.
in
But
the
I'm not
context of-
calling for this. I don't even want to make this argument. I'll
okay.
Yeah, Yeah, don't make an
I
argument
think
that you don't want.
there's a thing to be said for like definitely whatever restrictions Twitch does put on her, if it so happens, she's definitely gonna lose out in terms of like a monetary thing, and it's gonna be a disadvantage for her. But again, something that I think there's definitely a solution for. I mean, Twitch can compensate her for having to go through those things. I mean, there's solutions for everything. I mean, she could get a higher percentage of subs or whatever, have a better contract because she has to go through these things, comply with Twitch's. I mean, in terms of service and
Twitch
stuff.
doesn't want to open those floodgates though, because once you let
I don't know about that.
yeah, like it's a slippery slope argument basically, but Twitch doesn't want to mess with that, like modifying
But
the
but does
rules for
but
what
does
does.
Twitch but does
Doesn't
Twitch
Twitch
want
already
to
have
in the
like
future-
doesn't I've heard some people say that Twitch has special rules about who can and cannot use the N-word, like with an A.
Yeah,
I think
yeah, I'm pretty sure they do.
that's already a huge context specific situation. I feel like how can that possibly be any different with respect to somebody who has Tourette's?
The thing is about
That's a
sort
fair
of the
point.
slippery slope argument is that you can make the exact same argument on the other side. So let's say tomorrow a bunch of new Swedenitas show up, like 10 new Swedenitas, because they see there's a market for it, and they start saying like outrageous stuff because that's what gets to the top of live stream fail. I mean, that's not a situation you want. You want to have sort of like a consistent way to deal with this sort of thing because it gets out of hand. Right now, there's Swedenita. That's it, and it might not be a big of a problem. But in the future, as Twitch gets bigger, as Tourette's gets more advocacy, more people with Tourette's are going to start streaming, and we could possibly be facing an issue where, I mean, we're gonna have to deal with it in one way or another, unless you want just like a bunch of huge streamers saying things that are
Well, you know that like yelling the N word and like yelling stuff like that isn't a normal thing with Tourette's. Normally Tourette's just like normally Tourette's is like little ticks, like like twitches or like making little noises with your mouth. It doesn't usually manifest in like
so I can
slurs or
Well,
cuss
while
words.
this is true, and this was actually the case for Sweet Anita too, is but what ended up happening is she ended up developing that tick and other problematic ticks from her chat. So this was something that like developed over time through like chat interactions and them trying to like trigger her tick or whatever. So I mean, there's also that aspect.
I think there needs to be a consistent way to deal with different kinds of disabilities, being able to, in an easy and accessible and um, normal way, be able to stream on Twitch. And I don't think Tourette's is like the only problematic. As I mentioned, if somebody is a schizophrenic, I think they should be able to stream on Twitch, but we should be able to somehow impose some things that make it more friendly for like the community and the platform. And don't think it stops at Tourette's. Tourette's is just a thing that everybody's talking about now because it's like the biggest disabled streamer on Twitch. But yeah.
I mean, the poor girl must be going through hell. Like, I definitely
Yeah.
think that if you're gonna use the argument of, this might help her, or help get the stress out of her mind. If there's a way the moms can mute it, then I can agree. If she decides not to use it because of, if she just wants to say like, no, this is my disability, and I don't want to feel like I have to hide it, or doing this makes me feel ashamed and bad, I can see an argument for that. But I definitely think that like she said she'd lost 1,000 subs. She's afraid to talk to her dad because he's black, and that
Really?
word might trigger it. Yeah.
Holy shit.
That she's been escorted out of shops and stuff. So I definitely think like there is a strong argument for allowing maybe something that can like take off a little bit of the stress out of her mind, because holy shit, like her life is hell right now.
Completely agree with everything you just said, Pxie, and I think that she herself would not want, like she herself would want tools to deal with this. Like what happened after she said the kill the thing. I believe she went away from the stream and like
Mm.
closed off the stream and like was crying and went back and like saw chat and stuff. I mean, it must be incredibly upsetting for her. And I think it's just a win-win situation to find sort of a solution so that she doesn't have to stress out. And I mean, obviously, I would want her to herself adopt these things, and I think she would. I haven't seen anything to like the contrary. If she doesn't, well, then I mean, we're gonna have that discussion at that point, but I don't think it's gonna come to that.
Aiden, you're muted.
Oh,
I don't know if
Is
you're
Aiden
trying to
still
talk, Aiden, but
Yeah,
you're
still
muted.
muted.
yeah, in Discord, I think.
Oh.
Maybe are you on push to talk? I did that at the beginning of the stream. I was on push to talk.
I think I got
Hey.
disconnected at some
okay.
point.
There we go.
But yeah, I was what I was saying, like I mentioned earlier, like the cool thing about accessibility tools in general is that they'll often start out being targeted towards a specific disability or a specific population. But they have really broad uses. Like for example, like closed captioning started out to like give people who are deaf or hard of hearing like the ability to like know what the dialogue was happening. But they're useful like if you're in a very loud bar or if you just want like captions because like you sometimes like get distracted and you want to like read things. You know, like there's like so many like reasons people put on closed captions. Same with like ramps, like you know, like they're like they were invented for people who have wheelchairs, or they're like required in like buildings for people who have wheelchairs, but they're also really useful for people who are like carrying like carts of goods and things, you know, like and like an option for like muting portions of your stream, like obviously like if you have like copyrighted music, like that'll be automatically muted. But like if streamers want to mute portions of their stream like after their stream so that if they say something that they like regret, like if they accidentally say their address or phone number, like they have the ability to mute it without deleting their whole VOD, like that could have like a really like big impact.
Have you seen Sushi Dragon?
For sure.
He's so good, and he has like 38 bands where he like, and he also censors
Yeah.
himself. He'll say cuss words and bleep them out like as he has like a bunch of different keypads. I don't know how practical that is, but he literally like click 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 click. I don't know if that would help, but I certainly want to help.
There's a ton of streamers who already do this. I mean, even I think Brainrex has done this as well. Like, or was it Mitch Jones? Like when he had a discussion with Destiny, there was like a debate at some point where like he said something stupid like doxed someone and then like instantly just muted and then it didn't go out live. I mean, yeah, I feel like people already do this and.
This sounds really kind of off topic or whatever, but I've literally so you know those scenes that get to live stream fails about like the girl like changing clothes or whatever, or like accidentally getting naked, and then it goes to the front page. I hope I never have to deal with that situation, but I've had nightmares over it. Like I've had nightmares where I'm like,
Yo,
in the
me
top of live
too.
stream fails, and there's a video of me changing, and I'm like, what the fuck? How did this get
Does
here?
everybody have this dream? Is this common?
No, but that
My dream is
that
positive.
kind of happened to me in real life. Like, but like it was like when I was like I got like 5 viewers, I like rated over to somebody and like I forgot to end my stream, and I just
I've done the same thing.
But like somebody like messaged me or somebody like donated bits so that the sound would get my attention and be like, Aiden, end your fucking stream.
Mine is like that dream of like showing up to class with no pants on, but instead I'm like broadcasting. I walk in front of, I'm like, holy shit! I'm like, you know what I mean? I don't know why I have that dream. It's reoccurring. I have a lot.
I got to take off. I'm sorry I can't jump in here. You guys are very passionate about this subject. Tough one to get in on. I think it's a disability. And I just I don't think the N-word is in Huckleberry Finn, you know what I mean? Like they're like this is life, you know what I mean? And like she's not, I think the context matters. And I don't know. I just think somebody's got a disability and it bothers other people, you know. It's a tough situation, but I'm with Mastiat on his position on this, but I feel for her, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And I understand other people get offended, but context is everything. And, you know, you can find that language and that type of stuff anywhere you go in life, and it's the context, you know. So I don't know, but thank you guys for having me. I got to get up at 7 a.m. out here.
Oh, man.
This was a lot of fun. Mindwaves and
Yeah,
Leon, I think you guys did a great job. And a lot of fun. It's not easy to manage 10 people. Not easy.
We have a pretty good group, though.
Have a good night, Raves. Good seeing you.
Yeah,
Adios, man.
yeah, thanks for coming, dude.
That
It
was
was
really
good
nice.
having you, for sure, as
All right,
always.
Later, guy.
See ya.
See you.
Nice.
I like that guy.
Oh, same.
So,
he's really
was
cool.
there any other
Positive dude.
topics we had on the topic list, or how long are we running this for?
We can pretty much go until we're tired and say screw it. One
I can
thing
go all
I like that.
one thing we've slightly danced around that I did want to bring up though, this is like a different case than if it's in like the workplace, right? Because like partners and affiliates on Twitch aren't actually employed by Twitch, right?
True.
We've got that contractor thing, which is one thing we could like blow up in, if we want. But that actually doesn't give us any coverage under the American Disability Act of 1990, which actually has like seen
Oh,
some
true.
cases and amendments for Tourette's.
Yep.
Yeah, we could go through some of that.
Yeah,
I'm pulling some up now.
Yeah, well,
I read some.
one of the quick like really general things is the ADA is super like generic and not specific, which whatever. But yeah, it has addressed like Tourette's as one, but part of the ADA is making reasonable accommodations for employees with specific needs. And Tourette's has been a really mixed bag from what I could see on those.
Yeah.
But isn't that the suggestion, an accommodation? No, I don't know. I don't want to deplatform. I want to provide help. What is that?
Yeah, so I mean, is like providing, like requiring, I guess, a mute considered a reasonable accommodation?
Well,
Because this is probably a
Well-
like unusual thing for the ADA where we're looking for reasonable accommodations for other people, not for the person
So
specifically.
I think a way that you can sort of frame it from like a legal standpoint, I would say, is that you could require a mute, but exchange some compensation for sort of the effort being done. That's sort of how I would go about it.
Yeah, and if I think if Twitch actually employed its partners, I think that could be reasonable to ask or something along those lines. But we're not employed by Twitch, right? We're contracted, so Twitch doesn't have to do absolutely anything for her.
Yeah, but it's in Twitch's interest, right? We all agree that like the TOS exists for like marketing and ads and stuff. I mean, it's in Twitch's interest for her not to say like the N word and stuff because they're gonna lose like revenue and stuff. So I mean,
It is, but couldn't it like look really bad on Twitch for like providing extra requirements for her, or if they
Yeah,
went
I'm
far
sure
enough to
they'll-
ban her?
I'm sure they'll make whatever decision is ultimately best for them on that.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's I don't have the background to make that accommodation.